I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow. Throughout her life,
The royal family has seen its fair share of controversy, but nothing compares to the shocking news that just hit the monarchy. King Charles, who was once head over heels for Camilla and chose her over Princess Diana, has reportedly stripped her of her royal status. This is the most shocking decision of his reign. After years of Camilla's pretense, it appears King Charles is finally seeing her for who she really is, a betrayer and a selfish person. What did Camilla do, and why has King Charles taken this decision to strip her of the crown? Make sure to stick around until the end because this is one story you won't want to miss. King Charles' regret. King Charles, the man who once defied all odds and public perception to marry the woman he called the love of his life, Queen Camilla, now finds himself questioning that very decision. This regret didn't happen overnight. There has been a long record of tension between the couple. It all began when Camilla refused to attend an important event that meant the world to Charles. He had planned a royal gala to celebrate his new environmental initiative, something he deeply cared about. However, Camilla blatantly refused to attend the event, saying she was feeling tired. That night, Charles stood alone before the cameras, and in that moment he felt the sting of emotional abandonment. This was not the first time something like this had happened. It had become a pattern, but King Charles didn't notice at first. Now he has realized that there's a difference between duty and care. He remembered those months in early 2014 when he was facing health challenges and had to be admitted into the hospital. The doctors and nurses had spent long hours treating him. It was the worst moment of his life. His mind fought against pain and the prospect of an uncertain future. Yet in all that time, Camilla never came to visit him. She didn't even sit in that sterile room by his side for even a day, nor did she send a note or call. She just watched from afar while he lay fighting for his life. King Charles gave excuses for her absence and tried not to read meanings into her actions. Deep down, he felt hurt. The newspapers painted her in flattering tones. Headlines spoke of Queen Camilla with grace, elegance, and poise, but King Charles knew the image was carefully constructed. He felt the hollow echo behind her pretense. Camilla's action toward him hurt more deeply than any illness, and at that moment King Charles felt the full weight of his crown. When he was finally discharged from the hospital, he went home a sad and wounded man. One day, King Charles felt deeply saddened by the events unfolding in his family. In that moment of sorrow, he went to an old cabinet in the palace and pulled out an old photo album that had been hidden for years. The cover was worn and familiar. He opened it with care. The pages were filled with memories from the past. Then his eyes caught one photograph. It was a picture he had taken with Diana in the summer of 1987 at Highgrove. Diana was standing beside him, and she was not wearing a crown. She stood with a soft smile, her eyes bright, her spirit visible even in static light. The memory was vivid and painful. Diana loved him for himself. She was one woman who did not need adoration or titles. He remembered a particular evening years ago when Diana stood before him and spoke words that had haunted him ever since. She had confronted him after she found out about his affair with Camilla. She had told him that he did not have to choose between her and the throne, but if he chose the other woman, he would lose both. At the time, Charles dismissed her as overly emotional or trying to hold on to something slipping away. Now he understood how sharp that warning had been and how deeply true her words were. Seeing the photo of Princess Diana and remembering Camilla's betrayal when he was hospitalized merged everything into one painful truth. He sat back and closed his eyes. He felt the ache that comes when memory turns to guilt. He thought about Diana calmly, trying to protect their family. He thought about Camilla enjoying a spotlight that was never hers from the beginning. He stood and walked slowly across the room, standing at the tall window overlooking the gardens. The late evening breeze stirred the curtains gently. The roses were in full bloom outside. Diana had always loved the gardens. She spent most of her time tending to the flowers. She was also greatly involved in charity outreaches that had to do with women and children. He remembered he had always traveled with Princess Diana to remote regions for charity events. King Charles felt a stab of regret because he now realized he had traded something precious for something empty. There was so much going on in his mind that night. He thought of his eventual peace, the legacy he wanted to leave, and how he didn't seem to find happiness. He also took his mind back to the past, thinking of every moment he could have reached out to Diana, asked for forgiveness, and tried harder to be a better person. He thought of how things could have been different if Diana were his queen. Night quietly settled into the palace, and King Charles lay in the shadows with a heavy heart. His desires had so blinded him that he chose the wrong woman as his wife. He wondered how it all unraveled. How did he come to a love that hurt more than it healed? He thought of Diana's memory, of how the world still remembered her with love. He wondered whether he had failed them all. At that moment, King Charles felt the full weight of his crown. In the days that followed, Charles tried to hold things together, but Camilla was making headlines for all the wrong reasons, which only added to the turmoil. Her behavior during a state visit to South Korea shocked diplomats. She appeared distant, distracted, and visibly upset when Catherine received more attention from the media. The final straw came during a royal event at Buckingham Palace. Camilla reportedly banned Catherine from wearing red, calling it too flashy, and accused her of always dressing to attract attention. Then, on the day of the event, Camilla arrived in a bright red gown. The press caught on to the news, and the public responded with intense criticism of her person. The narrative began to shift. Camilla was no longer seen as the strong consort beside the king. She was now portrayed as insecure and competitive. Meanwhile, Catherine's image soared. She handled every appearance with humility and warmth, much like Diana once had. After that encounter, King Charles began distancing himself from her quietly and without making announcements. He stopped consulting her on major decisions and skipped their usual briefings. He also stopped inviting her into his private study, a space she once wandered in freely. Only those within the royal family noticed that things had become tense between them. To the outside world, everything appeared calm, but that illusion didn't last long. Camilla embarked on a high-profile royal tour through Europe in early spring. The trip was specifically designed to showcase her diplomacy and leadership. King Charles had approved the trip reluctantly, more out of protocol than interest, because he did not think these outings were beneficial. He sensed Camilla was more focused on her name being in the headlines and getting public applause than on genuine impact. King Charles no longer wanted anything to do with Camilla. The scales had finally fallen from his eyes. He now noticed things he had once ignored. He realized that she had been pretending all these years, while her interest in royal matters was more about her position than the welfare of the people. He stopped sharing his private thoughts with her and seeking her approval. The distance between them continued to grow. Camilla had been part of his life for decades, but now Charles realized their paths had not been aligned from the beginning. She had wanted power and fame by all means possible and didn't really care about the monarchy. Now that he noticed this too, he chose to spend more time with William and Catherine, who reminded him of the love he had once known. He began reshaping the royal calendar, assigning Princess Catherine to more high-impact events and inviting her to attend private state briefings usually reserved for senior royals. He even gave her access to several of Diana's former patronages, a sign that he trusted Princess Catherine with the legacy of the monarchy more than he did Camilla. Back in Buckingham Palace, the staff had started to circulate rumors of what was happening. Even the speculations from royal insiders revealed a sense that change was coming. Camilla was still technically Queen Consort, but her influence was no longer respected or followed as it once was. One particular meeting marked the moment everything became clear. It was a private charity planning session involving all senior royals. Charles was the coordinator of the meeting, and Camilla was expected to co-chair, but King Charles asked Catherine to take the lead instead. Camilla's face, according to a royal aide present, dropped instantly. She was told to observe while Catherine outlined a nationwide mental health initiative that would later become one of the most successful royal campaigns in recent years. Camilla tried to object, suggesting changes to the campaign focus, but for the first time in years, King Charles cut her off. "We will go with Catherine's vision," he said firmly. That very statement shocked everyone present that day. After the meeting, Camilla reportedly confronted King Charles and accused him of humiliating her in front of staff. Charles didn't argue. He simply told her that things were no longer about her. That same night, King Charles made a decision that shocked the entire monarchy. Camilla stripped of her royal status. The United Kingdom woke up to a media storm after a string of reports surfaced suggesting that King Charles had made a sweeping decision to strip Queen Camilla of her royal status. He was also cutting off her royal privileges, which included financial, ceremonial, and possibly even official status. While no formal statement has come from Buckingham Palace, a growing body of evidence has emerged pointing to a quiet but deliberate move by the king to distance the crown from Camilla Parker Bowles, the very woman he once fought so hard to legitimize as Queen Consort. Camilla was officially crowned as Queen Consort alongside Charles in May 2023. Now she is at the center of a royal controversy that many never saw coming. Rumors circulating from palace insiders hint that Camilla's access to certain royal residences has been restricted, her staff scaled back, and most significantly, her access to royal funding has been entirely revoked. To understand the impact of this decision, we need to rewind. Camilla's place in the royal family came from her scandalous affair with Prince Charles. Her newfound royalty was then built on years of public relations work, strategic planning, and quiet negotiations. Remember that she had initially branded the other woman during Charles's marriage to Princess Diana. Hence, Camilla has only managed to transition her from the most hated woman in Britain to an acceptable royal partner. But has she been fully accepted by the public? When Charles became king in 2005, Queen Elizabeth was reluctant to accept Camilla into the family. For many years, the Queen kept her distance from Camilla and even refused to acknowledge her publicly. The slow process of Queen Elizabeth's acceptance of Camilla was a reflection of the public's feelings. While the Queen eventually gave her approval for the marriage, it was clear that this was not a relationship she had initially supported. It took a lot of self-deprecating charm and diplomacy for Charles to convince the Queen to accept Camilla. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth surprised many by stating it was her sincere wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort. This endorsement opened the doors to a more active public role, more financial support, and increased visibility for Camilla. Here's the twist. Unlike royal bloodlines, the role of Queen Consort is not guaranteed or a permanent position. It only exists at the monarch's pleasure, and now it appears that pleasure has ended. While many royal watchers assumed Charles and Camilla were a united front, insiders suggest the relationship has been under strain in recent months. According to palace aides and royal correspondents, tensions have risen around Camilla's public role, her spending habits, and her influence over key decisions regarding the royal household. As some people might have observed, Camilla has been noticeably absent from high-profile royal events that were hosted recently. She hasn't attended key charity engagements she had previously championed in the last few months, and there hasn't been any public explanation as to why it was so. That is the first clue, and all is not well in the royal family. Add to this the fact that Camilla has reportedly moved out of Clarence House, the London residence she shared with King Charles, and is instead spending increasing time at Ray Mill House, her private Wiltshire estate. These are not just mere coincidences. They all point to a deliberate distancing between King Charles and Camilla. How was this noticed? How did people get the hint that there was trouble in paradise? One of the most noticeable changes was Camilla's complete withdrawal from financial access. As Queen Consort, Camilla previously had access to discretionary funds paid through the sovereign grant. It is a royal expense account that covers a range of costs, including designer wardrobes for state events, private transportation and chauffeurs, funding for staff such as secretaries, aides, and stylists, travel expenses for royal duties, and security personnel for domestic and international engagements. According to reports from multiple sources close to royal accounting offices, those benefits have been revoked, and she doesn't have access to them anymore. Camilla is no longer listed on the internal budget ledger under key spending categories. That means her ability to act independently under the royal household has been blocked. This decision alone would significantly reduce her lifestyle and mobility within royal circles. King Charles has also reportedly barred Camilla from receiving income from the Duchy of Lancaster. While not public money, this private estate generates over £24 million in annual revenue and can be traditionally used to support the monarch and their immediate family. Sources now claim King Charles has instructed that Camilla should be cut off from receiving further allocations from these earnings. Camilla has not only lost out on the financial benefits of the crown, she has also been completely stripped of all royal power. Being Queen Consort, Camilla had the right to attend private council meetings, represent the king at official engagements, and have her name attached to royal patronages and events. Now that the royal status has been taken away from her, she will be removed from several upcoming royal engagements. She will also lose official patronage listings from charities she once represented. She will no longer be involved in national-level planning, such as the upcoming Commonwealth tours, nor will she be permitted to attend private council briefings where national matters are discussed. This effectively neutralizes her power within the monarchy. The Queen Consort is now basically a ceremonial title, as it no longer carries active responsibilities. Unlike Queen Elizabeth's husband, Prince Philip, who was the consort of the British monarch from his wife's accession in 1952 until he passed away in 2021, Camilla appears to have retired abruptly from royal service. Camilla has also lost her visibility on public platforms. Royal family members always rely heavily on public appearances to maintain relevance and support from the public. They also leverage these events to secure state funding or charitable donations. Since the reported fallout, Camilla has been removed from important royal platforms. Worse still, her royal communications team has reportedly been dissolved, meaning there is no longer a team managing her public image, press statements, or event planning. This is a major sign that she is no longer being treated as a senior working royal. In essence, she has lost her voice and visibility in the British monarchy. Since the news of King Charles taking away Camilla's royal perks broke out, the British press has been in a frenzy. Major tabloids and respected news houses have carried the news on their front page, featuring questions like, "What did Camilla do? And why is King Charles cutting her out?" Yet Buckingham Palace has chosen not to issue any formal statement concerning the matter. They have not confirmed or denied the reports. That silence is what has led people to believe that Camilla has been stripped of the crown, as the palace is known to dismiss false stories swiftly. Their decision to say nothing at all suggests a strategic choice to let the story run its course without it turning into a dent against the royal family. However, royal watchers argue that the timing of this is deeply telling. Since King Charles was crowned king of the monarchy, he has been streamlining the royal family. With his reported health concerns earlier in the year and Prince William taking on more public responsibilities, the crown is tightening its operations. The consequences of what King Charles just did bear a lot of weight. If the reports are accurate, Camilla's role as Queen Consort has effectively been reduced to a symbolic title without power or privilege. Camilla has also been formally downgraded from her role, and she's even encouraged to step away from public life entirely. Unlike monarchs, whose roles are constitutionally defined, the title of Queen Consort has no legal protection and can be modified or revoked at the monarch's will. That is exactly what has happened. King Charles has used his complete discretion to alter Camilla's status, remove her benefits, and scale back her influence without parliamentary approval. Royal historians point out that this level of authority over a spouse is unique to the monarchy. In this case, King Charles has used his sovereign authority to withdraw Camilla from being a central figure in the monarchy to a sidelined partner. There is no legal challenge expected against this decision because, in the eyes of the monarchy, King Charles is the law. What does that mean in practical terms? Camilla will no longer be addressed as Her Majesty in official documents. She will be removed from the line of succession based on the ceremonies. Her portrait will no longer be paired with the king's in state institutions. Yes, she will also lose access to royal properties unless accompanied by a senior royal. Queen Camilla once stood at the king's side with full royal honors, privileges, and access to everything the crown could offer. However, now the reality is drastically different. With recent actions by King Charles, Camilla has lost more than her public image. She has lost real power, fame, royal access, serious money, and all the perks that come with royalty. What's next for Camilla? How will she navigate life without the royal life that she has been used to? With no budget, no role, and no access to key royal assets, Camilla now faces an uncertain future. The big question moving forward, however, is, was stripping Camilla of her royal status a long-planned move or a reaction to something Camilla did? Is King Charles acting on public pressure or internal royal politics? Reasons for King Charles's decision. For years, Queen Camilla has held the tag as Britain's most scrutinized royal. Her transformation from mistress to monarch's wife was one of the most controversial in modern royal history. However, even behind the calm public image that she tried to paint, trouble was brewing for a long time. The relationship between Charles and Camilla has always stood on scandalous ground. Charles had fought to bring her into the royal fold despite public backlash. But the truth is that the monarchy never fully embraced her, and neither did the public. Camilla's reputation was greatly smeared after the tragic passing of Princess Diana. She has always been seen as the woman who destroyed the people's princess. It took years of strategic public relations work, carefully curated appearances, and Queen Elizabeth's rare public endorsement in 2022 for Camilla to be accepted as Queen Consort. Nonetheless, even that acceptance was more political than emotional. The title Queen Consort was only granted as a formality, not because they thought she deserved it. Little wonder why people still resent her many years later. A growing point of contention that might have triggered Camilla to be cut off from royal perks is her approach to royal duties and lifestyle choices. After being crowned Queen Consort, she gained so much popularity and fame. She took on more patronages, attended more high-profile events, and received additional staff and financial support. Palace insiders say this expansion came with problems. Sources revealed that some senior royals reportedly objected to the costs associated with Camilla's growing presence. Her wardrobe expenses, private travel, and preferred luxury accommodations were said to be out of budget. So they pushed for the monarchy to slim down the budget of the palace, which indirectly means that Camilla has to be cut off. There were also rumored clashes between Camilla and Charles's long-trusted advisors, who felt she was starting to override decisions or push her own agenda. A few even suggested she was consistently stepping out of her role and was acting more like a co-ruler than a consort. The truth is that from the beginning, Camilla was never content to be a ceremonial figure simply. By many accounts, she wanted to wield real influence in the monarchy, which is why she pushed to have a say in appointments, schedules, and even press relations. While this must have seemed right to her, some insiders felt she wanted to dominate areas where she had no constitutional authority. They hated to take advice from a woman who only came into royalty through scandals. Things reached a boiling point when Camilla allegedly clashed with royal planners over the king's schedule, requesting changes that conflicted with other senior royals' commitments. There were also reports that she challenged Catherine, Princess of Wales, over visibility and seniority at public events. In a monarchy based on hierarchy and order, these types of internal disruptions are taken seriously. Senior royals started warning Charles against allowing Camilla to act without clear boundaries, as that would undermine the structure of the royal family. The tradition, protocol, and legacy of the monarchy had to be protected. All these crises kept on damaging her already stained reputation. Despite the efforts to rehabilitate her image, public sentiment toward Camilla remained lukewarm. A royal poll taken showed that she is the least popular British royal in history. Unlike Catherine, who enjoys widespread admiration, Camilla's approval ratings remained stubbornly low. Events like the coronation didn't help. Some commentators questioned the decision to crown Camilla alongside Charles, saying it felt like rewriting history and ignoring the pain caused during the Diana years. The position of queen had been Diana's birthright, and Camilla snatched it from her without remorse. The public was never going to forgive her for that. The message from the public has been clear from the outset. Camilla doesn't deserve to be queen. All of this internal friction, public dissatisfaction, and rising financial scrutiny are what finally forced King Charles to act. According to palace insiders, the combination of political pressure and personal realization made King Charles strip Camilla of everything. For a long time now, advisors have warned that continuing to fund Camilla's expanded role would alienate the public. Charles, who has long spoken about modernizing the monarchy, knew that inaction would damage his credibility. There's also the possibility that Prince William privately urged his father to reconsider Camilla's position. William is believed to have more influence now than ever before, and with the Queen Consort's growing presence clashing with his and Catherine's image, the tension may have reached a point where he had to push for her to step down. The decision to strip Camilla of her titles and royal privileges was not made overnight. It gained momentum quickly once Charles finally realized that Camilla had been pretentious all these years, and now he was ready to do the right thing. For years, the royal family had tried to reframe history, to move forward while keeping the past out of sight. Diana's influence, her story, and her image were too powerful to ignore. Charles had come to understand that denying her legacy was not only unwise, it was impossible. Now, with his reign entering a new chapter, King Charles began to rebuild, not just the institution, but also his image. The weight of the crown was heavy, but the burden of memory was heavier. For decades, he had buried his regrets beneath duty, royal obligations, and a marriage that never quite filled the spaces left behind by his first love, Diana. Time is catching up with him, and his health is declining, so he's trying to set things right, not just for himself, but for the future of the monarchy and the people it serves. His public appearances are now more meaningful and focused. He has also made plans to restart Diana's charity initiatives, including those for mental health and children's welfare. He is committed to building a new path for the monarchy, one that would allow the monarchy to step into a modern era with compassion, transparency, and humility. King Charles is now working closely with William and Catherine, passing on responsibilities and wisdom. Princess Catherine was never intended to replace Princess Diana. That would be both unfair and impossible. However, in many ways, she carried the same warmth and grace that Princess Diana had, and the public had grown to love her not for her title, but for her actions. She has quietly worked with charities, visited hospitals, championed mental health, and supported families affected by addiction and poverty. She showed up where it mattered, and the public has been noticing. That is why King Charles's decision to elevate her role more visibly is widely supported. While William would one day be king, it was Catherine who represented the emotional continuity of the monarchy as Queen Consort. A significant decision King Charles has made is rewriting his will. He has stated that every asset under his control, such as his estates, investments, and personal belongings, would pass to William and his children. Catherine would be the sole trustee of the Royal Charitable Fund he had created in Diana's name. He had also arranged for a private memorial garden to be built within Kensington Palace in Diana's honor, open to the public. As for Camilla, the king made it clear that she would receive nothing more than the pension already arranged for her as a former royal consort. She'll not be entitled to any estates, additional titles, or future public role. One thing is clear: Camilla no longer holds any meaningful power in the monarchy in royal terms. That's as final as it gets. What do you think about the king's decision? Do you support Camilla being stripped of her royal status? Does she deserve everything that is happening to her? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more updates. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.